Hello ladies, and welcome to the fucking booty base, and welcome to day one on your journey of becoming a macro tracker. We are going to be interspersing a whole variety of information to be able to empower and educate you girls to really take control of your nutrition, because I want you to feel educated and have the tools and skills and knowledge in exactly how to know what to eat for yourself, for your goals, and to make sure that you are getting the best results possible with your training and also living your life to the fullest. Now, today I'm not going to be doing a deep dive into anything super specific whatsoever. But what I am going to be doing is teaching you how to become a macro tracker and giving you a variety of tips on how to start actually tracking your food so you can analyze, assess, and build awareness and accountability around the energy that you're putting into your mouth so that you can see it as exactly what it is for how your body interprets the food that you are consuming, rather than the emotional attachments or your personal opinions or whatever it might be around your food, or just having no clue as to what you're actually eating and willy-nilly just going through life, having no education around how to fuel yourself properly for your performance and to be able to get the maximum motherfucking gains so you can get jacked, lean, and juicy with a big old motherfucking belly. So, what I recommend all of my clients to do when they first start training with me is to start tracking their food inside an app called MyFitnessPal. Now, some people use other food tracking apps or whatever else it might be, and that's completely fine. And maybe you already know how to track your food pretty well, or maybe you've never tracked anything whatsoever. But today, we're gonna be breaking down a few tips as to how you can really start to effectively and efficiently start building that awareness around the food you're putting in your mouth, show you my 10 top tips on how to actually use the app. We're gonna be doing some screen recordings and showing you all of the ways that we like to use the app to make sure it's the most simple and effective way possible. And more importantly, just explain to you why it is so important. You see, some people like getting a little bit obsessive around the tracking of their food, and I understand if maybe you feel like it's a tedious task and something that maybe you don't want to be doing all the time and tracking your food and really over analyzing what you eat. And for some people, maybe it's not the best option. However, later on throughout the course, I'm going to be showing you other ways in which you can also start to build meal plan templates so you don't have to actually track your food every day and become overly obsessed with what you're putting in your mouth. However, I think it's a very important skill to learn and a very important tool to be able to have. And the only way that you're actually ever going to be able to learn how to do it is by actually going through and fucking doing it. So, your number one goal this month, and in particular this week, is to track abso-fucking-lutely everything that you put inside your mouth so you can start to understand your eating habits. I can't teach you what your eating habits are. You need to be able to do that for yourself. I am a coach, and I'm not really all about giving people meal plans or telling them what to do. I'm here to provide you with education and information to teach you how to take control of your life. So it is time for you to buckle up and start getting serious about understanding what you need to fuel your body to get these amazing results. And at the end of the day, really, all we're doing is building accountability and awareness around what we're putting in our mouth. Yes, there's obviously very much a science around things. Yes, there's obviously different things to do with energy balance and protein, carbs, and fats, and we're gonna be exploring all of that in later videos. But really, more than anything, this is just getting you to understand what you eat and how it's going to be affecting your body in the long run and on a day-to-day basis. So, eventually, you'll probably be able to move away from tracking your food every single day, and that's something that is actually a goal for me with every single one of my clients. If you don't like tracking your food every day, that's okay. Me personally, I actually don't really track my food all that often. However, it's a skill and a tool that I have because I track my food every day for 6 months, and I know very much so what my portion sizes are. I know very much so really what my body needs, and now I can kind of auto-regulate and listen to my own cues because I have the education, because I have the experience of going through that, and that is exactly the same experience that I want you to be entering on your journey right now. And I know that when I'm not tracking my food, it's usually when I don't have really any specific aesthetic goals. I'm not really trying to be changing or manipulate the way my body looks all that much. However, whenever I really get serious, and whenever I really want to knuckle down and really start leaning out or really start putting on a little more muscle, and my focus is intentionally there to actually start seeing results, I always start tracking diligently every single day, and immediately my entire life improves. Not just my training, but my awareness within myself and my energy throughout the day, because I am aware and accountable to myself, and that is why tracking is so important. But if you haven't been familiar with going through that, then you need to go through the experience, and that is what we're going through today. So if you have no fucking clue on what to do, that's okay. We're gonna be educating you in this video, but more importantly, I don't care if you get things perfect right away. It's not about being perfect, it's about building a habit, it's about being consistent. So remember, your goal for this month is to track your food every single day. Maybe you miss a day, that's okay. But make it a goal, okay? At least have the intention to be saying, yes, I'm committed to this. This is something that I'm willing to learn, or something that maybe I already know and I'm not really doing, and I'm gonna really get serious about this because I'm here to get results, and I'm here to focus on improving my life and bettering myself in every single way. So today, as mentioned, we're gonna be going through and giving you those tips on how you can start setting everything up and how you can start building consistency. And just quickly, I wanted to quickly share a brief little story about my favorite, probably one, or I have many stories of all my clients' incredible results, but one of my favorite stories of all time with one of my clients who trained with me for about a year and a half. She always loved training. She always came to the gym. She trained me 2-3 days a week. And look, she did okay with training. She enjoyed her training. She was consistent with her training. But I would always be giving her tips and advice to start tracking her food, to start caring about what she was putting in her mouth. And she was always very blasé and never really cared about it, thinking that it was just something that was a little bit too boring to really care about. Her name is Cassandra Weinberg, and she's one of the amazing booty-based babes down here. Now, we had a 16-week challenge just a few months back, and she decided, and she came up and told me that she was gonna, for the first time ever, start tracking her food diligently, start eating more food, start building that awareness around what she did, and she tracked her food every day throughout this 16-week challenge, or at least majority of it. Now, I'm gonna share with you just quickly Cassie's amazing results that she had in this 16-week period. Boom! She got second place down here in the Booty Based Babes 16-week challenge, and as you can see here, her physical results are absolutely incredible. But really, what was way more important were her results within herself. She was so much more vibrant, she was so much more energetic and friendly in class, she had way more energy, and her strength shot up through the fucking roof. At the start of the 16-week challenge, she was doing bodyweight push-ups. By the end of it, she was doing 3 sets of 10 reps with 25 kilos on her back. So please, don't think that just tracking your food is just some aesthetic thing that's gonna be changing your body and the way that it looks. It's gonna be changing every aspect of your life. One of my favorite things that she actually mentioned to me was that she came up to me, and she used to always be very blasé and very like, oh yeah, no, look, and I would catch her not listening and just being really airy-fairy. And one day she was like, hey, you know what? Since I started eating more food and like tracking what I'm eating, I can hear people now. I can listen, I can be present. So she gained the ability to be present in everyday life because she understood what her body needed, and she built accountability and awareness around giving herself that fuel so she could absolutely smash it, bang it, and get the amazing, incredible results that she did, and the amazing, incredible results she can now continue to have for the rest of her life if she stays consistent. So without further ado, let's get into our actual tips. We're gonna be going through, doing some screen recordings and sharing the top 10 tips you need really just to get the ball rolling and get things started. Some of these things you might know, some of these things you might have no clue, but regardless, we're gonna share them with you so we can start getting this show on the road. All right, ladies, let's get this show on the road. So, the first things first, we're not gonna go through all the ins and outs of like just setting up your account and entering your name and details and all the rest. A lot of you probably already do have accounts anyway, so if that's the case, then you're set. If not, you're gonna be going through a series of questions which is gonna be spitting out a recommended calorie intake for yourself and also a recommended macro split. I'm gonna be touching on that a little bit later, but it's also gonna be giving you the option to go premium and go for a recommending you to go for a premium trial, which is actually free for your first month. And it's something that I do recommend that you use, but I'm gonna just quickly go through and show you the features and benefits of both because they are really quite similar. but there are one or two things that might be worth kind of having in your arsenal so you can see and understand your meals and things a little bit better. So you'll see here that if I decide to go premium, if this wants to load, not going to load. I'm just going to press these three little dots up here in the top right hand corner. You'll see that you're going to have the option to be able to see on your dashboard whether you see your calorie focus or you can see your macronutrient focus, and having that macronutrient focus right at the top of your dashboard is something that is a little bit nice to have, so that ordinarily we're going to be up here where it says calories remaining. It won't just show you calories remaining, but it will also show you how much protein, carbs, fats, and calories that you have remaining, because we are going to be tracking all of our macronutrients and having an ideal split of those macronutrients, which I will explain to you later on. Now, the other pro of the pro is going into your diary, and you'll see that I actually have a pre-tracked meal in here, which I'll be referencing later on. It was just my breakfast that I had this morning. It was an egg wrap with a bit of ham and cheese, delicious. But you'll see that in here, it only shows me the amount of calories that was in that meal. In the Pro version, it will show you the calories and will also show you the protein, carbs, and fats that you have within each individual meal, rather than just for the entire day. So again, it is a feature that's nice to have, at least at the very start of your journey, so you can see roughly how many calories, protein, carbs, and fats are allocated to each individual meal. Now, there is a workaround around this. If you don't want to get the free trial, you can't go and see how many calories and protein, carbs, and fats you have in every meal, but if you want to go and track your actual calories altogether, your protein, carbs, and fats, you're going to scroll down to the bottom, you're going to go to nutrition, and then you're going to see up here you can go calories, nutrients, or macros, and it has a breakdown of how many calories, protein, carbs, and fats you have left, along with a few other things, fiber, sugar, fats, all the rest, and you can see that it shows you how much you've had and how much you have remaining. So you can definitely use that if you'd like to, just to see how much of your macros that you do have left, but it is much easier and much nicer having that Pro version. But I understand if you don't want to get that, then that's completely fine. I don't know how much it costs. I think it's like $15 a month, but $15 a month for something that you're very likely going to be using every single day is a worthwhile investment in my opinion. So that's completely up to you. But remember, even if you do just get the free trial for 1 month and then cancel afterwards, at least you are going to have a little bit more knowledge around the protein, carbs, and fats that you can see every day as they start to reduce and you see how much you have left, and also within each individual meal. So the option's yours, but I recommend going Pro. Tip 2, which is a little known tip which I discovered and really enjoy, is changing your meal names inside your diary. You see, when you first get the app, it's going to have a generic breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. However, you'll see here that my meals are actually set up so it just says meal 1, meal 2, meal 3, meal 4, meal 5, meal 6. Now, you might not always eat 6 meals a day, and that's completely fine, but if you do want to kind of spread it across so you can see exactly how many calories and carbs and fats and proteins you are having in each individual meal, it's a little bit nicer than bundling them all together into just a generic snack section or putting extra additional things into your lunchtime, and it's just a little bit nicer and a little bit cleaner. So you're going to go down here into more, you're going to go into your, where are we here? Into your settings, and then in here you're going to go into your diary settings, then go into customize meal names, and through there you can change, as you can see here, into meal 1 all the way through down to meal 6, and that's a much cleaner, nicer way to organize your day. The next tip that I have for you is to not track your steps or activity inside the MyFitnessPal app. You'll see here at the top of the dashboard that it's saying that you have your goal. It says how much food that you've eaten, and also it has the amount of exercise or calories that you've burned. So I believe that when you go through and you set up your app, that it will give you the option to actually track them or not. However, I definitely recommend not doing that. And the reason being is that when you specify your allotted amount of calories for the day, when you're looking at whatever your goal is, it's already taking your activity and your step count into consideration. Now, you might not exactly know what that is right now, but that's okay. Again, I'm going to be teaching you that later, but first things first, let's make sure that we're not going to be connecting our steps with our Apple Watch or whatever tracker it might be into the app. Otherwise, it will deduce those calories from your daily total and allow you to then eat more. So if you burn 500 calories from steps or whatever it might be, it's going to allow you to eat an additional 500 calories, and that might not be advantageous for you in your particular circumstance. So what we do is we're going to come down again into our diary settings, we're going to go into our steps, and we're going to go do not track steps. It gives you the option to track from your phone, from at a device, or whatever else it might be, but we don't want to be doing that. It is a good idea to track your steps and to monitor your activity, but we want to keep it separate from what we're actually doing inside the app, and it's something that we can learn to auto-regulate over time as we continue to improve our awareness with the amount of energy that we're expending and intaking within our day. Tip number 4, we are getting into the good stuff, and I'm definitely going to be elaborating on this later in another video next week. However, we're going to be showing you how you can start setting your goals and setting up your macro splits. And also an additional tip, particularly for those of you down here in Australia, to actually go through and make sure we're tracking our calories and not our kilojoules. Now, I believe this might be something that is asked in the initial onboarding sequence within the app. However, if you are tracking your kilojoules, it's much easier to just track calories, and that's how I always communicate things, so it's going to be easier for you to understand. So first things first, before we go to our goals, we're going to go to more, we're going to come down to our settings again, and then we're going to go into our profile, and then down here at the bottom you'll see that it says units. Now, you want to be setting these to whatever units are appropriate for your country, whether it's pounds, kilos, stones for your body weight, etc. But you'll see down here where it says energy. Now, the energy that we consume can either be seen as calories or kilojoules. Keep it on calories. Now, coming back out of that, we're going to be going into our goals. So, from the home section, we go more, we go goals, and now we can actually come through and start to set our nutrition goals. Now, I am not going to be explaining exactly how many calories you should eat just yet, because I don't even want that to be a goal for you this week. However, so you can have a bit of a brief understanding, I will give you some guidelines. But remember, this week isn't about trying to get anything right. It's just about tracking everything that you eat, because all I want you to do is be focusing on being accountable and being consistent, so you can start to be aware of your habits and how much food you're eating at the moment. So do not change your eating habits whatsoever for this first week. All I want you to do is keep eating exactly the same that you already are, so you can kind of see and understand where you're at, and then it will give you a better understanding of where to go when you understand exactly how to set your calories for your goals. But generally speaking, for the first month that I ever train anybody, I like getting them to be eating at around about maintenance calories. Now, what is maintenance calories? That's pretty much consuming around about the same amount of calories that your body is actually expending within a day. I can't tell you right now exactly what that's going to be for you, but for most girls, it's generally anywhere between about 1,800 to 2,200 calories. 1,800 being on the lower end, 2,200 being on the upper end. So 2,000 is a pretty good smack bang in the middle goal to be able to aim for. So if you do want to go through and set your goals, you're going to come into this section right here, and you're going to press enter your calories, carbs, proteins, and fats. Now, you're going to be coming into your calories, and as you can see, I've already got mine set here at 2,000 calories. The app will be giving you something generic judged on the information that you gave it. So if you do want to change it to this, that way you can kind of see if you are getting close to that, or if you are a little bit too high or a little bit too low, and you have a little bit more understanding for this first week, even though you're not necessarily trying to hit that target just yet. Now, as for our protein, carbs, and fats, ordinarily, what I like to recommend is a 40-30-30 split, because it just seems to work really well for majority of people. Again, I will be explaining this more in our next video later on this week on how you can kind of set your macro splits up. But if you are going to be going at 2,000 calories, then we're going to be shooting for probably around about that 40-30-30 split. But you'll notice that I've actually got 45% of our 45% coming from carbs, we have 25% coming from protein, and 30% coming from fat. Now, the reason being is when you start eating a lot of calories and you start eating probably more than about 1,800 calories, if you do have 30% of your calories coming from carbohydrates, coming from protein, it's going to be telling you to aim for 150 grams of protein. Now, to be honest with you, a lot of girls already have trouble hitting their protein targets. One of the most common questions I get is, how can I hit more protein? Again, I'll be explaining this later, but generally anywhere between about 100 to 140 grams of protein per day is a great recommended sweet spot to be in. So if you are going to be setting your calories at 2,000, then if you bring it down to 25, you'll notice that we're getting 125 grams of protein to shoot for. And then if you feel like you like eating a bit more carbs, then you can add a bit more carbs and add 5% there. Or if you like having a bit more fats, add the fats there. It doesn't really matter. Those carbs and fats are interchangeable. Our main goals we're going to be focusing on later on is hitting our calories and also making sure we're getting an adequate amount of protein. And then you can choose which you prefer of eating more carbs or more fats. But for this sake, we're going to go for a little bit more carbs so we can fuel our workout and get a little bit more jacked. All right. Now let's start getting into the nitty gritty and showing you how you can actually start tracking a meal. Now, I'm actually already got one of these meals preloaded. Again, it was my breakfast that I had this morning. So to go in there, you're gonna just go to your diary, and then I've already got this preset out because what I want to show you is not exactly how to track a whole meal, but how to just change a few things that might be a little bit confusing if you don't quite know. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down into the sauce here, okay? Now you'll notice that in this barbecue sauce, it gives me my serving size. So you'll notice that some things are going to say like how many units it is. Sometimes if it's like an avocado, it'll be like one medium avocado. And it's like pretty hard to know exactly what a medium avocado really looks like and all the rest. But regardless, sometimes with your chicken breast, it might say like one piece of chicken or one breast, versus giving you the option to actually track the grams or the mils or whatever it might be. So you can just press that and you'll see on most of the more official or the more well-recognized items that are on here, you'll be able to go through and pick whichever is suitable for your situation. Now, we generally recommend tracking the grams or the mils or whatever it might be, and something you can actually use on a scanner, which I'm going to be showing you in the next tip, so that you can be a little bit more accurate with your measurements overall. Now, not just going to be stopping there, because once we set that to 15 mils, or for argument's sake, let's say that we put it to 1 mil so I can get super specific with it. And I come into the number of servings. You'll probably notice that when you first come in it, you've got the options for either fractions or decimals. Now, again, fractions you can use if you like, but it's a bit odd. It's like 6 1/3 serves and all the rest. It's just a little bit weird to play around with. So if you swap that straight over to decimals, then you can write exactly how many you had. So I'm gonna go through and let's say, for example, I tracked my sauce this morning and I had 25 grams of sauce or 25 mils of sauce. Well, it says 1 mil, I write 25, and then I'm good to go. Simple as that. Boom, enter. It shows you how many carbs, fats, and proteins are in the top there. You enter it, and then you put that into your meal, and it's pretty much as simple as that. So again, there are a lot more things to consider when you're actually tracking your food, but that's generally speaking going to be the most specific things that you might not really be aware of. And the only other tip that I would recommend is if you are going through and tracking something, to try to look for the verified tick. You'll see here that with the eggs, if you type in egg, there's going to be a whole plethora of different eggs and ways that you can actually track that. This one has a green tick, and that means that if it has a green tick, it's been verified by a lot of people to mean that it is going to be pretty accurate. So I'm going to go in here, and again, if I wanted to go through, I can see that I've got 1 large, 1 medium, 1 extra large, or whatever it might be. Eggs come in all different shapes and sizes, and then you track how many that you had. I had 2, maybe you had 2.5 eggs. You can go 2.5, and then it's very easy to track with those decimals and fractions, and our serving size is set to whatever it is that you're actually going to be eating. And one more little bonus tip in here as well, guys. I just want you to be aware that when you are selecting some things, that it might come up and tell you how many calories are in the food, but it may not actually say how many carbs, proteins, or fats are in the meal. So it can be a little bit misconceiving when it's deducting the total amount of calories from your day, but it's not actually taking away the protein, carbs, and fats. So I don't have an example of that here, but as you can see, when you enter how many eggs you have, say I had 3 eggs, it's gonna say how many calories, and also right next to it, how many protein, carbs, and fats are within that. So just be wary that sometimes you might track something and it will tell you the calories and it won't tell you the protein, carbs, and fats. And lastly, another thing to look out for is something that you're just gonna be learning over time, and it's just really understanding what really is in certain foods. Sometimes you'll look at something and maybe it's a piece of chicken breast and it says it only has like 10 grams of protein, but you know that normally, like if you were to eat 150 grams of chicken breast, it would probably have around about 30 grams of protein. And again, this is something that I can't really tell you specifically what to be looking for, but over time you'll start to build that awareness around what typically certain foods are going to be having within for their recommended serving sizes. So just something to be aware of as you are starting your journey. Okay ladies, now our next tip is going to be showing you two things that I am definitely wanting you to be consuming and using in your macro tracking journey. The first is something that is critical to your success, which is our kitchen scales. Now you can get whichever kitchen scales that you like and whichever one works for you, and I do not need you to track absolutely everything on these scales for the rest of your life unless you want to and you enjoy to. But again, understanding your serving sizes and how much food you're actually consuming with the amount of volume versus how much energy it's giving you is going to be absolutely fucking critical in so many aspects. And the second thing that I'm going to be needing you to be using a little bit more is a little bit more tasty, a little bit more delicious, and a little bit more pleasurable, and that is new motherfucking Nutella, ladies and gentlemen. Bang. Now, the reason why I am bringing this Nutella out is I'm not expecting you to be eating Nutella every single day, but it is something that you can definitely start to include in your diet if you know and understand how much energy you're consuming. You can enjoy foods that you like every single day, and I'll be touching on that later when I explain to you all about how we approach our nutrition with flexible dieting to be able to allow you to enjoy the foods you love without restriction as long as you are being accountable with them. But you're going to be using your scales for a variety of things. When you're weighing out your meat servings, or you're weighing out whatever it might be, but for things more specific like Nutella, where they are quite calorie dense foods, I'm going to show you one, how to actually use the scales efficiently, because it's a little bit hard to just weigh something and just put it on something and just know and understand. And a lot of the time people just eyeball these things, and that's really not what we want to do. So first things first, I'm going to see that we have this bad boy. Okay, we're going to put it on the scales. Now it's saying that there's X amount of weight on there. What you do is you press unit, oh wait, you press, I'm fucking up here. You press mode, here we go. There you go. You just press on and off, or whatever your scale has, my bad, to be able to what we call tear the scales. Now it's zeroed out. Now I can go in there and I can see exactly how much Nutella I'm taking out, because it's telling me just how much I'm taking away from that zero weight. So I scoop that out, and that is 28 grams of Nutella, and I can go through, I can track that straight away, okay? Now the reason why you want to be careful with something like this is we want you to enjoy foods you like all the time, but if you just eyeball these things and you don't actually weigh them, then people's eyeball of just putting a tablespoon or a teaspoon of Nutella is always going to be a little bit different. And I'm going to be giving you a few examples here, okay? So the first one, you'll see that I have this spoon here of Nutella, and this is a spoon, and so is this, but you'll see that this one's slightly smaller than this spoon as well. So maybe one person's saying, oh, I'm just having a teaspoon of Nutella, the other person's having this teaspoon, and it's considerably larger. So again, you can't always trust the utensils that you use, so having a more accurate measurement with using scales is far more ideal. Now again, if I was to just eyeball this and just go in there and be like, fuck yep, I'm making a shake, I'm gonna grab this, I'm gonna put this in, and I'm just gonna fucking whack a bang bang that straight into my shake, boom, bingo, bango, bongo. That's 43 grams of Nutella. And it doesn't look like a fucking huge amount, depending on your eyeball serving, but if I was to actually go through and grab a proper spoon and actually weigh it, properly tear it, and actually understand, okay, I'm gonna have 20 grams of Nutella, that's 21. Look, fucking close enough. If you really want to, you can scrape a little bit off, and all the rest, and then, okay, yep, there we go, boom, 20 grams, 17, whatever, you fucking get the point. And then you put it on there, you know exactly what you're getting. Now let's quickly just look at the differences, okay, in that. So I have our Nutella already set up here. So a recommended serving size is 15 grams. So 20 is actually more than the average recommended serving size anyway. But I go in here, I change it to 1 gram, and I say 20 grams of Nutella has 105 calories, and let's not worry about all the other specifics, but 43, okay, has 226 calories. So I've just gone and more than doubled my amount of calories for that day. And if you do that every single day with a variety of different things, you're eating 100 calories more here, 100 calories more there. If you are in a dieting phase and you're in a calorie deficit and trying to lose weight, well, that can very, very, very easily knock you out of your calorie deficit. You think you're working hard and you think you're doing all these things to get the right results, but really you're not weighing and measuring your food properly, so you don't really know or understand why you're not getting results, but it's just because you're not measuring or tracking accurately. Now again, it's not something that you need to be super pedantic about. I don't want you to ever get super obsessive about things, but again, when you're first learning, it's really good because then eventually you are going to learn how to be able to eyeball your servings and be able to do it more intuitively without needing to worry about weighing everything all the time. But you need to go through the process first. And the best part is that if you know that this is 18 grams of Nutella and you can't get all that into the shake, well, guess what? You get to lick the spoon nice and clean afterwards. And no, you're still eating the exact amount of calories that you counted for. All right. You know what? Double trouble. Ow! Okay, now moving on to the next tip, because those scales are definitely going to be crucial towards you being successful with your macro tracking. However, there is another amazing tool inside MyFitnessPal which makes your life so much easier. Now, when I use this Nutella, I can just go through and search Nutella and waste my time doing all of this writing and all the rest and search for something, and as you can see, there's a whole variety of different Nutella things here. One Nutella pie piece, Nartine, whatever the fuck that is. Or instead, I can say, wait a fucking second, this food I have has a barcode. I can probably get a little bit more specific. So you press this barcode scanner and you, boom, track that bad boy, and it says, oh, Ferrero, yep, that's the company, yep, 1 kilo Nutella, 15 grams, this looks pretty good. It doesn't have a verified tick, but this is the correct one. So again, now I just go through, I change it, boom, boom, I had 20 grams, and I decided to put that on my English muffins because I'm having a delicious pre-workout snack. This is something that we actually recommend the girls to have as a tasty pre-workout snack to get their motherfucking carbs in before their workouts, and tell on English muffins. And it's a goddamn tasty treat, one of my personal favorites. Boom, scan the barcode, boom, simple as that. Bingo, bango, fucking bongo. You have one muffin with 20 grams of Nutella on there. It's already set. This one's pretty fucking simple. Again, you can go through and change all that, but you don't need to. It's just showing you how to use a scanner and how to make your life 10 times easier. And the best part is, once you've scanned something once, it's gonna stay in your log forever. So you can see that now it's there. If I wanted to go through and then track it again the next time, rather than getting it out and actually scanning it again, it's already popped up and it's right there straight away. Or if I hadn't used that in a while, I would just type in English muffin and it would pop up right away, or Nutella, and it would pop up right away. As you can see, I have a whole variety of foods here which I use every day that I have scanned or I have entered, and it just pops up in your already searched foods, which makes life a lot easier rather than having to write chicken every time. You just write ch, and then you know you're good to go. All right. All right, ladies. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, fucking hell, all these tips are giving me are these super specific tips. I don't want to be doing this shit and weighing scales and stuff for the rest of my life. Well, you haven't know that this tip is actually something where I want you to probably be a little bit less strict with, and it comes down to only really tracking the caloric foods. Okay, now you'll see here that what I have inside my my meal one, which was my breakfast wrap this morning, it was a delicious, tasty wrap. I have it almost every morning. Now I go through and I've definitely tracked my flatbread because, as you can see, it's got 320 calories in it. That's obviously something that's going to track. It has a lot of carbs. I'm also going to track my eggs. I want to know how much protein and fat is in there. My ham, I want to be tracking that because obviously that's going to be giving me more protein. My cheese, again, it's going to have a little bit of carbs, a little bit of fats, a little bit of protein, all contributing to my day. And then we come down to two things at the bottom here, which you might want to be able to kind of consider. I'm only going to speak about one of them though, and that's the spinach. Okay, so look, do I want you to be eating healthy foods and spinaches and salads? Of course I do. Are they super calorically dense? No. Are they super hard to weigh out and measure? Yeah, they are. And if you look into it, it's 20 fucking calories and it's 3 grams carbs, 2 grams protein. It's really a negligible amount of calories. So unless you want to get super specific and you really like tracking all those minute details, then I would recommend probably not tracking all those little bits and bobs. Another example would be maybe you're making a homemade burger. Obviously, track the buns. Obviously, track the meat that you use. Obviously, track the cheese. Then you might have some lettuce on there, you might have some onions on there, you might have some beetroot on there, or whatever else it might be. You probably wouldn't track those. You might crack an egg and then fry that motherfucker up and whack it on there so you get that nice oozy drizzle. you will track the egg, because you're gonna notice that those things have more calories and they're gonna be contributing to the energy that you're having. So again, if you'd like to track all those little things, then go for it, but I would recommend just sticking to tracking the more calorically dense foods. However, if you're not sure, then track it anyway, and all you'll need to do is track it once and then realize, oh, okay, that didn't have anywhere near as many calories as I thought, I'm probably not gonna track that in the future. Or you might track something and realize, oh shit, that actually had way more calories than I thought. I'm definitely gonna be making sure I track that in the future. And that might be in relation to some things like our sauce, which I'm gonna be touching on with another point. You might be just being like, oh, I was gonna whack a bit of fucking sauce on there, but you'll see here that that's actually got 16 grams of carbs and about 70 calories total. So that can kind of contribute to your day. Again, every day you're having a little bit of sauce, you squirt all that motherfucker on there. So sauces, stuff like that, yes. Veggies and things that are a little bit less calorically dense, well, up to you, but don't do it unless you want to waste your time. Now, the next tip is something that you definitely want to be looking out for, especially when you are going to be eating from things that are pre-packaged and things that come in containers and things like, for example, rice. You might pick this bad boy up and you might go, oh wow, this looks delicious. Okay, Mediterranean brown style rice, it's healthy, it's good for me, delicious. Also, you turn over to the back and you see, oh my gosh, there's only 33 grams of carbs in this. That's a pretty fucking sweet deal. And you scan that bad boy in, boom, boom, scan that motherfucker, just pretend I did it. And you go, oh wow, look, it is only 33 grams carbs. Fuck, that's awesome. I'm gonna eat this whole thing, I'm gonna be really full, and that's delicious. But you'll realize that, okay, that serving size is actually only 120 grams. So one serving size is actually half of this packet. Okay, so if you were to eat the whole thing, it's actually double the amount of calories because there's 240 grams in here. So just be cautious of that and be aware to make sure that you are actually eating the amount of calories that is in the entire container, or make sure that if you do get this and you are just having half, well, you just have half. But if you ate the whole thing, you'll see that we go boom, boom, because it would be 2 serves, and we see that now it's actually got 420 calories and 66 grams of carbs. So again, it's not a matter of what's good or bad, it's a matter of how much food do you need and are you getting misconstrued by the labels. And trust me when I say this happens a lot of the time. A lot of food prep companies and a lot of just food people who make food are a little bit inconspicuous and deceptive with the way that they use their labeling. People are a lot more strict on it now, but it's just definitely something that I want you to be aware of when you are consuming foods like this. And last but not least, ladies, we have one more tip for you, and this is something that really throws a lot of people off, even if they think they are tracking everything according to plan, is making sure that you are tracking your sauces, your drinks, and all those cheeky, sneaky little snacks that you might be having across the day, especially if fat loss is one of your goals. Now, you can see over here, I just have a little meal, which would be maybe a typical day for someone who's just not tracking things that they might not have really thought of, or maybe things that they just weren't really, maybe they just kind of forgot, or whatever else it might be. Low power mode, we're on. And maybe in the morning they had a glass of OJ, you know what I mean? Simple, they made their breakfast and they think, oh, I don't need to track this, just fucking glass of OJ. Well, what you do, it's got like over 100 calories in that. And also, maybe you stop off at a friend's house afterwards, they got a fucking couple of chippies and a couple of lollies out there, you grab a couple of handfuls of chips, 15 chips, not a lot of chips, and then you grab maybe 6 snakes, you know what I mean? Delicious, Allen's Ollies, get down my fucking gobbler, alrighty? 150 calories in the chips, 255 calories in the snakes, okay? And then you're getting real tired on the way home, you're having a bit of a crash, and you think to yourself, fuck, I need a coffee. Stop off at Macca's and you get yourself a latte, boom. Alrighty, we got 180 calories right there in that latte. And then you make some dinner at night, you make a nice wrap or whatever it might be, and then you track everything, but you forget to track the sauce because you think, oh, I just whack the sauce on at the end, doesn't really matter. And you put some mayonnaise on there. Well, mayonnaise is incredibly high in calories, okay? And in a probably typical serving size of mayonnaise, you've got 220 calories right there. So you might think that you tracked everything else in that day according to plan, thinking that you ate 200 or 2,000 calories and you hit it bang smack in the middle, but actually you ate 2,900. All of that together adds up to an additional 900 calories of things that you might not really be aware of. Things that aren't really going to be giving you a lot of protein, a lot of energy, or a lot of anything into your day, which are going to be contributing towards you feeling goddamn great, goddamn sexy about yourself. And again, there's nothing wrong with eating any of these foods whatsoever, but it's just needing to make sure they are actually accounted for, particularly if you are in a fat loss phase and you are trying to stay in a calorie deficit. Because this can not just knock you out of a deficit, but can actually put you into a calorie surplus and make you wonder why you're not just not losing weight, but actually maybe even gaining weight. So we want to just be very careful with things like that. Now, some things that you don't need to worry about as much, okay, is going to be stuff like your black coffee. So if you have black coffee, that's fine. Obviously, water, teas, things like that, and also your sugar-free like drinks, like your sugar-free like Coke Zeros or whatever else it might be that you like to enjoy. But if it is something that does have caloric value, then be careful. Also, there are little sauces that you can have, a lot of seasonings and a lot of different like things like salsas that again are very, very low calorie. Things like mustard, things like sriracha sauce. You can also get really low calorie, sugar-free sauces and things like that that you can have and play around with. But again, just track it first so you can see and understand whether it is actually going to be low calorie or not. And that way you can understand which sauces you're using and which ones you should or maybe shouldn't track when it comes to things like that. Okay, ladies, that is a wrap for our day one. This video is probably longer than I intended it to be. Probably all these videos will be. I apologize in advance. But remember, your goal now is to put these tips to use and start tracking every single day for this week especially, but even more importantly for the entire month, so that you can actually start learning and so you can start understanding the process for yourself. I can create a video and tell you every single way and tip and trick on how to ride a bike, but you're never gonna fucking know how to do it until you get on there, you start pedaling, you take a few stacks, you take a few tumbles, you get back on, you keep fucking going, and eventually you take those steering wheels off, not steering wheels, those, what are they fucking called? Training wheels, thank you, Joe. Take those training wheels off, all of a sudden you're fucking popping wheelies, doing fucking fishies, doing burnouts and all the rest. So, make that your goal, alrighty? Fishies. Fishies, fishies, fishies. Anyway, guys, that is it for today. On whatever day that's coming up on day 2, we're going to be exploring and expanding on exactly what your macronutrients are, our protein, carbs, and fats, explaining why they're important, what we need, and how you can focus on actually hitting those targets, and also providing you with a meal plan templates so that in the following week, you can start to have a lot more structure to your days, and you can start to actually plan out things so that you still can track, but you won't need to rely on the tracking just so much, because you're going to have a nice template to follow that's going to allow you to hit your targets in a nice, intelligent way, which doesn't require a shit load of thinking. Anyway, ladies, keep smashing it, banging it, and you stay absolutely beautiful.